I have my phone.
What?
I have my phone.
Exactly. All right. I'm Dr. Nick Fanning. With me is Dana Brennen. I'm here with Vitality Chiropractic, and it has been my passion to find other people's passions, especially in our community in Keith County, Nebraska. And so for this month, because it's back to school season, we're going to be talking with an early childhood development specialist whose passion is helping young kids and helping them find their true potential. Because that's what my potential is, or true passion in this office as well. And as you can tell, this video is raw, it's uncut, it's unrehearsed, and we're going to give you basically our passions, and so you can see that for yourself. But also seeing that, hey, this community, as small as it is completely filled with people that are passionate about what they do, and honestly, they're experts, they know what they're talking about, and they are an amazing resource for all our needs. So Dana, tell the people just a little bit about yourself in general.
Okay. I'm originally from the area. I'm originally from Hyannis.
Okay.
Moved to Lincoln, went to school there, lived there for about 10 years. Met my husband.
I met her there too.
Oh.
But I'm not her husband.
No. Met Nick at college in Lincoln. Go Huskers.
Yep.
Moved to the Bahamas for 4 years. Lived there with my husband. Worked at an international IB school there. Decided that we wanted to move back to the States and really find a community where we would be able to refocus on our unit as a family, but also to connect with the community, be able to go on walks, have the kids play in the yard, go to the library, and enjoy life more.
Nice. And we kind of talked about more like core or values-based decision making. It sounded like you guys really figured out what was important for you, and that made probably the decision a lot easier for that. So, and honestly, she mentioned her husband, and the thing is with that, he's an expert himself. You got two incredibly well-educated people here. He's working with people at the rec center, helping them reach new levels of health that they never thought possible. And he's like the highest of the highest as far as exercise and showing people do that. He's a certified strength and conditioning specialist, folks.
Right. That's
a big deal. And this is nothing to wink at either. She's actually done most of your training in international school, right? Or how is it again?
Well, for the last
Right.
last 2 years, I've worked at an international baccalaureate school,
Okay.
which is a curriculum that focuses on inquiry.
Okay.
And learning through inquiry. So,
Awesome.
not necessarily the drill and kill,
Right.
memorize this, and this. You inquire, you learn how to ask the right questions.
Right.
And then you learn how to find the answers. So,
Awesome.
For example, in early childhood, one of the developmental milestones for, say, a 3-year-old is learning to throw overhand. And, early childhood educators know this, and so, they might give the child the ball and say, throw overhand,
Right.
like this. Well, from an inquiry standpoint, you'd ask the child, how can I throw this ball far?
Right.
What can we do for that? And working with children, they might say, you throw it hard.
Right.
And
Right.
because that's a standard answer for
That's obvious, right, yeah.
a 3-4-year-old. But as an educator, I'd want to facilitate more discussion on that. Well, how do I throw it hard? Can you demonstrate that for me? And from there, you basically start the scientific method from a very young age. But they don't know that.
Right.
It's just
It's
asking
fun.
questions and experimenting. So I asked the child, I said, can you show me? And so, some children would be like, you throw it like this. And I'm like, oh, that's overhand. So then you put a label to their action. Some children will throw like this, the underhand or the sidearm, and you're like, some people's balls went really far. Let's all try this. And from there, you can make a conclusion based on a number of trials.
Nice. Scientific method, I love it.
Scientific method. And then the kids come to the conclusion. But during that whole process, you might have a kid that's trying to throw far underhand, and they're like, wow, Mrs. Dana, I threw the ball high.
Right.
And you're like, wow, how did you do that?
I like that.
So then they make their own conclusion that throwing the ball overhand, I can throw the ball really far,
Right.
but if I throw it like this, the ball goes up and it goes really high. So rather than me saying, Nick, throw the ball overhand, it's going to go far,
Right.
you discover that on your own. And there's a certain amount of ownership and self-efficacy, so to speak, that you know that you can find the answer.
Nice.
That is empowering to small children as much as it is to adults when they learn that they can do things themselves as well.
Wow. Mind blown. And I can say as like a dad to small children, it is so easy and so, now I'm kind of like, oh gosh, I can't believe I've been doing this, to just tell them what the answer is, or just say, do it this way, because go, 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 we gotta get fast, fast, fast. But now that you said that, I'm sure everybody knows which one would be more empowering.
Sure thing.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I definitely think there's definitely something to this. I mean, even when I'm educating folks like that, I ask a lot of questions. It's called Socratic teaching. And why not take that to a new level with your own children? So I also have another guilt that I talk about, is that, you know, I, like a lot of parents, like to compare kids with other kids. And so I know that we wanted to talk about that because we were going to talk about how can we best prep our kids for school? How can we best help our kids develop to their highest potential?
Right.
And before you wag your finger at me on that one, I mean, is there any kind of tips or suggestions as far as we can not do that?
That's actually interesting that you bring that up, because especially the way that the school systems are set up, the schools have to have these laws to be accountable for grades, and kids take all these standardized tests, and so there's this filter down effect where we want our kids reading better, earlier, faster, but you know, as you get younger and younger, those teaching strategies that are used in the upper elementary and high school are not appropriate for those younger children.
Okay.
You know, sitting in a desk, learning and listening to a teacher lecture at you. Children learn best through hands-on.
Okay.
But even more so than that, because, you know, learning through overhand is a hands-on activity too, but it's about how you learn it.
Right.
And what is appropriate for that child's development.
Okay.
So, with early childhood development, children are learning, the way that children learn and develop, they piggyback on each other.
Okay.
So, if you think of writing, that's a very important skill in school.
Definitely helpful later on in life.
Right.
Yeah.
So, just a little bit.
Yeah.
However, with children, they develop their fine and gross motor skills from gross motor, large motor, those big movements, to fine motor, learning to manipulate a pencil. You'll notice when you see toddlers scribble, they grab the pencil or crayon or marker in
their whole hand,
and they go like this. And, you know, people tell them, color inside the lines, color inside the lines.
Right.
The fact is, that may not be appropriate for that child because they have not developed those fine motor skills to make smaller strokes using their wrist. Because right now they're using their whole arm.
With gusto too, because I got like the 2-year-olds that are like, whoa!
On every single page of your journal.
Yep.
So, to develop those skills, it isn't necessarily as easy as putting a marker or a crayon in a child's hand. You have to develop those skills. So maybe playing with rice or beans, working on that pincher grasp. That will start to develop those muscles.
Speaking of developing young children.
You want to sit on my lap?
Mommy.
Can you say hi to the camera? I'm going to keep talking, okay?
Mommy.
Yes.
Where are the tires?
I don't know. You'll have to go look in the bucket. Do you want to stay sitting on my lap? Or do you want to go look in the bucket for the cars? You're going to go look in the bucket?
I need your help.
Okay, 1 minute, okay? Thank you. And that's another thing. If you just gave them 2 choices, both of which are acceptable to me, that way I don't have to use the word no.
Right. We tell kids no.
Right, they get
all
no
the time. And then kids, like they say kids here no like 60,000 times before
Right.
their age of like 5.
So,
yeah.
this is kind of with empowering children,
Mm-hmm.
but still giving them the choice to operate within,
Right.
boundaries that are acceptable to us. So, I gave him the choice of he could either sit on my lap
Mm-hmm.
and listen to us talk and
Right,
smile
right.
at you guys, or he could go back and look for the cars
Right.
himself. And he made his choice.
Mm-hmm.
And
Both are acceptable.
both
Yeah.
are acceptable, and that way I'm not wagging my finger at
Right.
him, and then you get the butting of the heads and
Mhm.
all of that jazz.
You touched on boundaries. You want to expand on that just a bit? Because especially as we're trying to get kids moved more towards going from cavemen maniacs to, productive members of society.
Sure. So boundaries are necessary.
Right.
We don't want children running out onto a busy street.
Mm-hmm.
But boundaries are equally important for them to feel safe and secure within their environment.
Right.
And so, not only boundaries, but routine and structure. Knowing that mom and dad are nearby,
Right.
but they can explore and experiment their environment freely and with gusto,
Okay.
but knowing that, they're paying attention, and if I get too close to the street, even though, kids are impulsive, they're gonna do things that,
Yeah.
they know that they're not supposed to, but sometimes they get tempted. They know that mom and dad will be there to bring them back and keep them safe.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, they're gonna rebel.
I found a train.
Yay,
Hey,
good job.
Good. Yeah.
And so that helps with learning because they're able to trust that mom and dad or their teacher
Right.
will keep them safe and secure.
Or that they can play in one area, but they always know where mom is during
Right.
an interview, right?
Right.
So there you go. Understandable. And so can you find that maybe setting those boundaries in that routine and making sure that you follow that on a regular basis, is that more empowering and actually would help development then?
Well, it's a balance.
Okay.
You don't want to control everything
Right.
because then that stifles creativity
Mhm.
and then kids are less likely to explore and experiment.
Okay.
So you have to find that healthy balance of
Mhm.
what is good for your child.
Okay. Every child's different?
Every child's different. So for mine, he's constantly checking,
Mm-hmm.
if mom's still there, all right, cool.
Right.
I'm going to go back and play. Let me go back and check.
Right.
Let me say hi.
Give me
And-
some love. Yeah, totally understand.
So,
Yep.
but other children, it depends on that child's personality
Mhm.
and that secure relationship.
Awesome. So how are you applying some of the, I guess, basically what I'm going to say is like, what are you doing now? And then how can people get in touch with you to help them out with their own kids? But
Sure.
also, kind of tell them what you're doing now to basically help your passion and apply that passion.
Sure. What I'm doing now.
Oh, just a second. Big train. Gotta love it. All right, now go for it. Sorry.
Okay. So what I'm doing now, we chose Ogallala
Uh-huh.
out of basically all of the U.S. We
Right.
looked at other states. We looked at other communities.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that I wanted to open a home child care when I came back. I have young children. You saw my son
Yep.
or heard him, and he's 4 years old. But I also have another one who will be 8 in October. I wanted to still be accessible to them.
Right.
So being a home child care enabled me to do that, but also enabled me to continue working with my passion, which is
Cool.
young children. So what I have is a home child care Play and Learn Academy. We're on Facebook.
Nice.
I'll
I'll put it right here on the video. There you go.
But I've kind of modeled my program after my experiences. I've
Mhm.
worked within a Head Start school. They use creative curriculum and
Okay.
Love and Logic, but also within the International Baccalaureate Inquiry Program that Lyford Key International School uses. And there's things I like about both programs, and I like that I'm able to kind of mesh them together to make it something that I'm passionate about and that I'm able to do.
Yeah.
So I utilize a lot of play
Mhm.
and inquiry into my program. We talk subjects and I find out what the kids are excited about,
Yep.
what they want to do, and then we expand upon that and we explore it, and we ask questions and read books and do art, and sometimes we watch a YouTube video. And for example, one of the questions that the children asked during one meal was, we were eating eggs. Well, what is an egg? And we cooked I think we cooked the next day, and we had to crack some eggs, and they're like, these are two different things.
Yeah.
And so, then, the next day I was like, you know what, let me boil some eggs and crack them open, and so then the kids got to explore that, and I opened up a raw egg, uncooked egg, and, that's taking something that a child is interested in, something that they ask a question about, and then, expanding upon
like a problem-based learning. That's awesome.
And they're interested in it. They want to know.
That's pretty sweet. That's cool.
It's fun.
So yeah, and I have to say that from our own standpoint, our oldest daughter, Hayden, was working with Dana, and we're actually kind of bummed that we have to take her to preschool, because honestly, it almost seems like everything's taken care of with Dana. And so I have to say, give a shout out to you that, you're just not one of those run-of-the-mills, like, hey, I have this child from this time to this time. We just got to make sure they don't hurt themselves.
Right.
It seems like that every time the child enters, they're going to improve in some way, shape, or form, or be that much more curious, or that much more happy, or that much more educated, or whatever it is, more empowered to do something. And I have to say, hats off to you for having that out. And so that's why I was like, hey, we got to get the word out about some of the stuff you're doing. So thank you for joining us today. Is there anything else that, like, last minute, like, top tip or anything like that you want to leave everybody with?
Let your children play. Let them explore at home. There's so many things that you have at home that your children would love to get their hands on. A shoebox of rice or beans, and put their hands in it, feel it, get a truck. There's so many things at home. Boxes. All kids love boxes.
Oh yeah.
So play is important for children and adults, for our creativity, for self-expression, and for a large part, happiness.
I mean, I feel like getting a refrigerator box right now. I mean, that'd be so much fun.
Let's build a fort.
Right. Well, Dana, thank you again so much for joining us today. Guys, I have her information at the bottom of the screen, most likely here. Hopefully I have the technology I can do that. Please get a hold of her. She is an amazing resource to have in this community, and obviously because now the community is online, you can get a hold of her across the world if you need to. So thank you. I really, truly appreciate it. I'm truly grateful that we're so close that we can work together. So, folks, also, just so you know, in the month of August for Vitality, it is our back to school week, our month. And so every Monday we're going to have scoliosis screenings from 5:30 to 6:30 every night. It's a $10 donation. We're actually discounting the services that we normally provide in the office, and we're donating that $10 donation towards the backpack program, which, if you haven't heard about it, it's one of those programs you're glad is there but wish it didn't have to exist. And so we're going to help out the community in that way too. Also, we're having a real fun back to school week where I'm going to be putting a quiz out at a 4th grade level and another one at a 5th grade level. So come test your back to school knowledge and see if you can not get completely frustrated by this, but we'll have a lot of fun doing it. And we have a lot of great upcoming events. Check out the website, and we will talk to you next month. Dana, again, thanks so much for joining us. All right, see ya. Thank you.